Population is a problem here at Smithson Valley. Hi, I'm Aaron Rodriguez.
And I'm Donovan Murphy, and today we're taking you along with the population growth of Smithson Valley. First, let's see how it's affecting our parking lots with Jack Mobley and Emily Gibson.
Is the people that live in Timberwood Park and Outlook, Lookout Canyon, all that area down there in the southern portion of our zone, they don't have to drive too far to school. Right now, we have some of those kiddos that are on a bus for a long time. So that would be a positive for them. I can see people that live down in that part of our attendance zone liking having a high school down there because then they don't have to drive all the way out here. But the negative is, it kind of breaks up the tradition that we've had here for 15 to 20 years that we built here in Smithson Valley. So that would be a drawback.
Every time I have to walk up from Africa, because there's way too many people in Africa, my hair gets messed up every single morning. So now I don't even try to do it anymore.
Parking in Africa because it's a long walk.
This is gonna take Becken's gonna yell at me.
We tried to alleviate that with running what they call shuttle routes. So basically, they put middle school and high school kids on one, and they go to a middle school or Spring Branch or Smithson Valley, and then they get on a different bus to try to alleviate some. But right now, some of those routes are pretty crowded. It's not safe to have 4 kids to a seat.
You're at 8:20, but you're late because of the walk, and it's not fair because if you parked in the front, you'd be here on time.
I believe SV's parking lots are safe. I don't think anybody's getting robbed or anything.
Proposal there in every option A, B, C, and D, there's options to buy buses. There's $3 to $6 million in each one of those, whichever one the board chooses to go with. There's going to be purchases of new.
Juniors and seniors should get red and green, and all the freshmen, the reason why Africa gets to park so far, like in South Africa, is because all the freshmen populated all, so they should all get Africa, and none of them should get to park on Senior Hill.
I think the school should switch up the parking plan to where it's better access for the students and the teachers. It takes me 15 minutes to leave, which kind of sucks, but yeah.
My house at 8 and I get here at 8:30 and can't make it. Tardy every day.
Now, of course, we're not the only school in Texas that are dealing with population growth, and we're also not the only school in Texas. So here's Gwen and Skylar about population growth at other schools.
We obviously know Smithson Valley is overcrowded. Currently, SV has a little over 2,600 students, when it was only made for 2,000 overall. And can you imagine by 2026, this school will have over 4,000? Why is this? Well, Comal is the 7th largest district in the nation, with more than 34,000 students in Comal ISD total. Now, we all know SV's halls are full of traffic, but what we didn't know is that Canyon represents the same thing. But when you take a look at Canyon Lake, it's the complete opposite of its neighboring schools. When comparing the 3 schools' populations, you can clearly see how the schools differentiate in size. The campuses of Smithson Valley and Canyon have over 2,500 students, while Canyon Lake only has about 1,000. Less than half of the students' population at the other 2 high schools. Though the school's population seems ginormous when comparing it to Canyon Lake, they're actually very small when compared to other schools throughout Texas. The projected enrollment shows SV and Canyon's population will grow exponentially, while Canyon Lake will grow at a much steadier pace. By 2026, CHS and SVHS will have almost 4 times the number of students than Canyon Lake. As we look at our district compared to others, our population surely isn't as huge as we originally thought. With an average size, it's clear that the only problem is we have too little schools and too many kids. Many options are being discussed to fix these issues, but we are still a long, long way from a permanent solution.
Now, the obvious solution would be to expand, but I think they already thought of that. Now we'll go with Liam and Hannah on why that's not a viable option.
Welcome to Smithson Valley, home of big trucks, Ranger football, a state qualifying ROTC program, award-winning UIL academics, but also almost 3,000 kids, and that's a problem. We decided to sit down with Mr. Wall and talk about why the obvious solutions are not really that viable.
We're kind of landlocked. What I mean by that is wherever you see those fences around our property, and then it's private property immediately. And the person who owns that property is not willing to sell it to us. Does that make sense? So there's no way we can expand like behind the ag building or down behind the parking lot down in Africa, because that's private property. And then there's some land up towards the front as you drive in, but those are leach fields, which means for sewer and things like that we can't build on. So as far as acquisitioning more land, I don't think that's ever going to happen because the guy's not going to sell the land to us. So that's one reason why that's not an option as far as building on to the school. So your question was, why don't we build on top? Well, if we do that, then we're adding kids to our school. But we need to be careful because infrastructure, what I mean by that, hallways, cafeteria, parking, gym space, you're adding more kids, but you're still going to have the same problems that we have right now with more kids. Are you with me? So you're looking to go probably 4 lunches and only maybe juniors and seniors parking at that time. Plus, if you get bigger, you're going to have more staff parking too. So that's one of the reasons I believe that they didn't go down that road. There is areas that you could look into doing something like that, especially when you have a football game here on Friday night. We get 10,000 people here. I mean, we're stretched because there are people, as you know, if you've been here on Friday nights, they park up the main road, they park on 46. So that's something that's currently not in this bond, but that's something that could be looked at into the future that's feasible. Concerns would be safety. As you add more people, kids and staff, you want everybody to be safe. Secondly is, class sizes. There's only a certain number of classrooms right now that we have. We are expanding and using all those portables that are being redone right now for next year. If you know in the back of our property behind the propane tanks, there's those brown portables for driver understandings. So we're going to use those, but class sizes, getting classes of 37, 38, 36, that's not the best kind of learning environment for teenagers. We want to keep it around 27, 28. So as we get larger, that's some of my concerns.
With Smith Valley being such a high athletic school, we have a lot of locker rooms. Here's John and Levi talking about why those locker rooms aren't enough.
Well, I think the locker room situation is always going to be a challenge, especially with the school growing. Right now, we probably don't have enough locker room space for the athletes that we already have on campus. So with us growing every year, getting bigger, it's going to continue to be a problem.
Okay, we have, what we've done is we've split the JV and varsity squads, or the JV and freshman squads, and so that we have them in separate rooms at separate times, so that has taken care of the overcrowded situation that we had before.
We are seeing an increase in population, 200 plus kids this year, and expecting 100, 200 each year for the next 4 or 5 years. Some of our plan of action would be, number one, we're going to redo the portables that are in the back of the building for classroom space for starting in the 17-18 school year. So that'll provide more classroom space for students, should relieve some of the overcrowding in classrooms and in hallways, because kids will have to go out there for class instead of everybody trying to mill around in the inside of the building. Another thing that we'll do is, like this year we did for overcrowding, we increased our lunch from 2 lunches to 3 lunches. We'll probably have to look at maybe relegating parking only to juniors and seniors. That may be something we look at to help relieve parking. But those are a few things that we're looking at to relieve the overcrowding in the next couple of years in the immediate future.
Now, there are many solutions that have been proposed by the district. These are called the bond options. Let's take a deeper look into what these bond options are with Lauren and James.
Studies show that Comal ISD gains approximately 800 new students each year and is recognized as one of the fastest growing districts of its size in Texas. Due to this immense growth, members of the school board have proposed 4 possible bond scenarios, which will be used to accommodate for the rapid growth.
The hallways are always really crowded and you can't get anywhere.
It's hard to get around to your classes. Sometimes, you can't go to the restroom, or it just takes longer in general to get to your class. You might miss some stuff.
Like parking in Africa. Africa's really far away and you have to park so far because there's so many kids that go here.
So getting to the halls is like trying to get to the subway in Shanghai.
A new high school in the long run is the best thing for the district. based on the growth.
But frankly, the truth of the matter is, if we don't have new schools for the future, then we will somehow have to have additional portables. Now, the thing about portables is that we need land to add portables. In Smithson Valley High School, for example, we're landlocked here. And as a result of that, there's only a certain number of portables we can put here at Smithson Valley High School.
The first scenario is estimated to cost around $262 million. This bond will provide funding for 2 new high schools, design work for a new elementary school, as well as funding for land, bus, and maintenance projects. The bond would have no impact on tax rates.
The second option comes in about $333 million. It provides funding for 2 new high schools and elementary schools, along with land, bus, and maintenance projects. The bond would have a 3-cent impact on the tax rate. However, the earliest elementary schools could not open until 2022.
The third scenario requires $124 million in order to provide funding for a new high school and land and bus maintenance projects. The bond would convert Smithson Valley Middle School into a 9th grade center. The bond would have no impact on the tax rate. However, the new high school would not be built for the area south of the 281. The bond would also require an increase in staff.
The last bond option is the cheapest, costing about $15 million. It will only provide funding for land, bus, and maintenance projects. There will be no funding for new schools, and it would require redrawing high school and middle school attendance boundaries. The bond also requires 18 portable classrooms at Canyon Lake High School and an increased transportation cost up to $600,000.
I'm James Lamson.
And I'm Lauren Kralow.
And thanks for joining us as we review the possible bond options for 2017.
Tell your parents to vote on the 2017 Comal ISD bond. Voting begins in May. Now have a rain-terrific day.